18 and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Cable TV Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. First order of business is the approval of the minutes of the September 25th meeting of the committee, which were circulated to the committee in advance of the meeting. Any amendments, changes, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
A motion to approve the minutes of September 25, 2020.
Second.
All in favor? Kathy?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the minutes are approved, and thank you as always, Will, for putting those together. Just for the record, the committee was furnished with a proposed draft license from Charter at approximately 1:30 this afternoon, about half an hour before the meeting. And I will say, as we move forward here, if anyone is not comfortable with proceeding to vote on this proposal at this meeting, I certainly fully understand that and would be sympathetic to that viewpoint. Having said that, I think we can go through the language that's being proposed on what I think are the pertinent or the particularly pertinent provisions of the license. And then we can decide after we've talked about those, whether we feel we're in a position to do something at this meeting, whether we want to go back to Charter or whether we want to hold another meeting that'll give everybody more time to look at the document and think about it. So I think all of those are options before us. I don't think any of us should feel pressured to do anything today if we're not comfortable in doing it. So let me preface what we're going to do with those comments. For me, the relevant provisions start with 13.3. And have we all got the document in front of us?
No, I didn't realize that you had sent it out.
Okay, well, that's fine. You wouldn't have had a chance to do much with it. Anyway.
No, well, I'll pull it up. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so 13.3. So these are several relevant things here. 13.3A is their agreement to the 5%. Which just says they're going to pay us the 5% when they're going to pay it, and they have the right to pass on the cost to the subscribers.
Okay. Barry, when did you forwarded this to the town of Southborough email?
Yes.
I'm not sure that I've received it.
Oh,
not
Kathy,
sure.
did
I'm
you
not
get-
sure the attachment is there, Barry.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I was concerned about that. Let me try again.
Okay.
And I apologize for that. That's, I can find it here.
Let me just say, I'd like Charter to know that this seems to be another example for me of a lack of good faith. I don't understand why they came so late.
And just so you know, what happened was, as we had discussed at our last meeting, Bill went back to John with what we were looking for. And let me preface that by saying I did have communications with Caitlin at SAM. And she did some research and came back with a figure of $5,000. And so, Bill went back to John Marr with that figure. And, okay. Bill, are you able to forward that license to Kathy and Will?
Yes, let me go back to my office account here. And, all right, so,
All right.
actually, I don't need to do that. I can forward it. What email addresses?
So Will is wwarren@southboroughtown.com.
Southborough Town, one word,
Yeah,
.com.
and Kathy, does the Southborough address work for you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so it's K Wilford at southboroughtown.com.
W. Warren at southboroughtown.com. K. Wilford at southboroughtown.com. Here we go. Just send it to you.
May take a minute, but let me know when you get it.
I sent it from my home address, so it'll be coming from an email account that's AMHWH3. It might say Ann Hunter. That's my spouse. Her name's on the computer.
Oh, did I screw up? I think I might have. Tim is telling me it's not southboroughtown.com, it's southboroughma.com.
Okay, here we go again. So
Thank you, Tim.
SOUTH dash MA or just
Hello?
No,
MA
just MA.
.com.
Yeah,
W. Warren at southboroughma.com and K. Wilford at Southborough. Too many U's in there. ma.com. Southborough ma.com. All right, let's try this. Once again, just send it to you. Let's see if it went out.
Barry, while we're waiting for it, why don't you go ahead? We can catch up.
Okay, I mean, the 5% I don't think should be controversial. I don't think there's anything in that paragraph that's controversial.
Got
The
it.
next paragraph, B, says they'll pay the 19,000 over 5 years. So that's what we agreed to. I don't think there's a problem with that. C is the one about reports that the town would provide, and they agreed to the language that upon request of the licensee.
Barry, are they going to backdate the 5% to a date in September or?
Well, you'll see, we'll get to it, but the execution date, the license will become effective on September 20th.
Okay. Does that meet our needs?
Yes. Yes, because we wanted to get something done before October 1st.
Okay. Yeah, I've gotten the attachment. I'm looking at, I've caught up with you, so I'm okay.
Okay, and Kathy, do you have? it?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay. So as I said, I've covered A, and it's 90 days from the execution date. The execution date is September 20th. So I think that's, I don't see any problem with that. The 3,800 a year payments are also 90 days after the execution date. And you'll see C, they've agreed to, upon request of licensee, for that report that they want.
If this contract is effective on the September 20th, what does that mean with respect to the Verizon payment then?
Well, just we provide notice to Verizon that Charter is obligated as of before October 1st to pay the 5%. And that triggers their obligation to start paying the 5%.
Have they paid us the capital yet that we agreed on?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Barry, just one point. The effective date here is September 30th, not the 20th.
Oh, I thought I mean, it doesn't really matter. I just looked at
No,
it quickly.
30th
Thought
is
it's
fine.
at
That's
the-
section 15.
Yeah, you're right. It's the 30th, not the 20th, but
That's still
doesn't
okay.
change anything.
Yeah, it's still okay.
Yep. Sorry about that. Okay, 13.4. So this is where they've agreed to our request that the amount for the encoders be increased from 3,000 to 5,000. And Caitlin, if I can pull up her email, actually, I think the 5,000 covers not only the encoders, but some ancillary equipment that goes with that. So that she was very comfortable that the 5,000 was adequate. I will note there's a difference between, well, there are a couple of differences between what Charter is doing and what Verizon did. So Verizon still owns the equipment, whereas Sam will have to go out and purchase it. But the other language that's in the Verizon agreement is that they would work with the town to provide the lines or whatever is needed. I mean, the town will have to pay for it, but it specifically says, work with the town to ensure that the function as part of the town's networks. Charter is not committing to doing that. I don't know how big a deal, how big of a technical issue it is. But I just want to note for the record that there is that distinction between what Verizon is doing and what Charter has agreed to do in 13.4. Okay.
Was Caitlin okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, she knows obviously that they're just going to be getting a check for $5,000. And she understands, Now, having said that, I don't see any reason why, if she goes to charter and said, okay, if Sam decides, and I understand there'll be a discussion with the town at some point about using the town's fiber line. But if charter decides to go, if Sam decides to go to charter, say we want to use your lines, that since charter's going to charge for it, charter wouldn't be willing to say, fine, we'll go and put the lines in.
Okay,
Okay, 13.5 essentially just says that to the extent they're allowed by law to recover costs of the access support and the interconnection costs and those costs, that they're allowed to do so, which is what we essentially proposed to them, because they indicated an intention to recover costs to the extent they can. And they wanted us initially to just agree that they could do that. And we said, no, you can do it to the extent you're allowed to do it by law, but we're not going to voluntarily agree that you can do it. And so this provision, as I read it, basically says that they can do it to the extent they're permitted by law to do it. Am I reading that correctly, Bill?
You are, Barry. That's correct. And that's the discussion that we had and that I had with John. And I think 13.5 is good also.
Okay, and for me, the only relevant other language was what we've already discussed, the effective date, which is September 30. So that meets our needs for the Verizon agreement, which is what we were concerned about.
and
Pretty much all the rest of the language in the license is technical stuff that has to do with installation requirements, service areas, that is very much getting into weeds and frankly beyond my capacity to analyze it. And I rely for this, I rely on Bill to tell us whether it's in line with what we should expect to see in this kind of license.
And the answer to that is yes, it is.
the only, I read through all of that and it sounded reasonable. The only thing that I was kind of puzzled about was that the bond that they're asked to put up in case, we need to repair something that they've done when they leave is only $10,000. Is that normal or is that something that really doesn't matter or what?
Well, I won't say it doesn't matter, and it's normal for charter. Other bonds you see in other licenses are sometimes higher. Charter, for some reason or other, has always, even for 10 or 15 years back, always insisted on this lower bond number. I've never seen or heard of an issue between a municipality and a cable operator that obligated the cable operator to put up the bond, put notice to the bond carrier, the surety. I've never seen or heard of that happening. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I've never seen or heard of it happening. So it's normal for charter, whatever that means.
Okay.
All right, and again, as I said at the beginning, and you've had even less time than I thought to look at this, this document. Now, we have seen iterations of it before, and really the only things that have changed are the provisions we talked about. But we have options. We are currently on the agenda for the Board of Selectmen's meeting on Tuesday.
Okay.
But, so I think we can do a few things. If we're comfortable, we could vote on this license now. If we're not comfortable, we can schedule another meeting before next Tuesday for the sole purpose of voting on this license. I think those are the two options. I'm happy either way, whatever the committee feels comfortable doing.
I'm comfortable voting. You know, I probably will read through the license as it stands just to make sure that there's nothing else that jumps out at me, but I'll do that later. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, we could go ahead.
I'm okay with that. We seem to have covered all of the outstanding issues.
Okay. Bill, is there anything you want to add or anything in the license that you think we should discuss that we haven't discussed?
I don't know of any issues we haven't discussed, Barry. They seem to me to have met my most recent demands to them, my most recent requests. They did that. And so I am content that this license is the best product we're going to be able to negotiate with Charter at this time, quite frankly. So I'm willing to recommend it as your attorney, as the product of our negotiations and meeting, to the extent it has been possible to do so, meeting our future cable community related needs. So I would recommend it.
Okay, and I appreciate that. And, you know, despite everything we've gone through, I think we have managed to get pretty much everything we wanted to get. And in fact, on the capital side, significantly more than we set out to get. And importantly, we get Charter to commit to the 5%, which gets Verizon to the 5%. I want to say one other thing, and I think we discussed this at the last meeting, but just so everybody's clear, one thing that's not in this license that was in the previous license was their agreement to provide free basic service to all public buildings. And as we talked about this, they had made clear it was their intention to start charging for that, as they're allowed to do under 621. We, I think as a committee, made the decision after consulting with Sam that since Verizon continues to provide the basic service for free, and that most of the public buildings are already using Verizon, that the best option for everyone was just say, okay, Charter, we don't want you, we're not asking you to provide basic service. We'll switch to the extent there are public buildings that are not using Verizon, we will switch those over to Verizon. And there'll be no loss of service for those public buildings. So just I want everybody to be clear that that's not in the license. It was in the previous license, and understand the reasons for that.
And Barry, you know, just am I correct then in assuming that there's nothing that will encumber the 5%, Charter giving us the full 5%?
That's correct, except to the extent that I guess Sam decides that they do want to use Charter lines for the live feeds.
Okay.
But otherwise, and to the extent there is anything else, we have no authority and no ability to keep Charter from doing it.
I guess that brings up one other question then, which is that are we confident that, you know, if after we sign this and Sam goes to Charter and says we'd like a cost estimate on something, are we confident that they will be able to get that from Charter?
That's a very good point, Will, because now that I think of it, since they're not, that language is not in the license. So the language that we had proposed about getting an estimate is not in the license. As from my reading of it, I didn't see it, certainly not in 13.4. all they're doing is agreeing to provide, to give us the money for the equipment. So that's a very good point. And so how is Sam going to make a decision on whether to use charter services as opposed to the town's fiber lines in an informed way?
I see three possibilities. I mean, one, they don't get an estimate and they go ahead and make the decision. Two, Charter provides an estimate for three, which I'm skeptical that they would do because it does take time. And the next alternative would just be that Sam has to pay for an estimate, right? Sort of like
Yeah,
a garage mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't see why Charter would be unwilling to, if Sam goes to her and said, we're considering having you install these lines, what's the cost? I mean, most businesses would provide a cost of what that's going to be and not just say, well, we'll do it and we'll tell you how much it is later. So, I mean, but I think it's a good point for you to raise. I think we should think about that. I think I agree with you, Will, that shouldn't be an impediment, that it would be reasonable to expect Charter to provide an estimate. And to be fair, we had insisted on that language because Charter said the original proposal was they were going to agree to put in the lines and they were going to charge us for it. And we said, well, wait a minute. Before we commit to that, we want to know how much it is. So I think we're in a different place now where there's nothing in the agreement that says they're going to put in the line. So I guess I'm comfortable moving forward with the language as it is without adding language about estimates and lines.
I think it would, I agree with you. I think it's okay. I mean, but on the other hand, trying to get language like that into the contract at this time would probably take quite a while, right?
Why did I see?
That's our experience.
Let me call John and find out if he's willing to put it into a side letter. And I'll let you know what he says to that. That's a possibility.
Okay, that would be fine.
It's either a yes or no. So if it's no, it's no, and that's what it is. And we'll follow other alternatives. But it would be nice to have that option if they're willing to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have something in writing from them saying, upon request, we'll provide a reasonable estimate of the cost of installation and the transmission costs involved in putting in the lines.
Actually, this sort of gets back to a question we had about what has Verizon's provided so far, right? If Sam wanted to do a live feed from the public safety building, over Verizon, let's say, will they have enough? Will they have what they need to do that, or is that something that we wouldn't have the lines necessary?
The lines are not in. Sam fully expects to pay for those lines should it request that they be put in.
Okay.
Again, I think there's an impetus now for Sam and the town to sit down and talk about what options the town may be able to provide. What's the feasibility of that? What are the costs involved in that? And I thank Tim Litt for raising that with me, something I hadn't been aware of. I'm sure, Will, you were aware of it, but so that's something that can be pursued. And, at this point, I obviously don't know whether that makes sense or not, but that seems to be potentially viable option. And I think the ball is sort of in Sam's court to start that process, as well as to move, to talk to Verizon and Charter about what are the options of moving forward with them. But as of now, all they have from Verizon are encoders.
You know, I would just say that Sam hasn't seemed to be overly interested in this issue, right?
Well, when Tim suggested it, I brought it up with Caitlin, and they seem to be open to it. Their concern, not their concern. What they don't know is if there's if there's a technical problem, a maintenance issue with the fiber, how quickly is the town going to be able to fix it? What costs are involved for Sam with that kind of thing? So they have questions about that. I didn't sense they're reluctant to do it. It's more the unknown. They don't know from a technical perspective and from a cost perspective what's involved. And I think if they could be shown that it's cheaper, it's quicker, and it's more under your control to do it this way, I think they're more than, again, Caitlin was not speaking for their board, so I don't want to put words in the board's mouth, but I think I didn't get a sense that they were in any way reluctant to go that route if they could be shown it was viable and potentially less costly than going with the cable companies.
You know, at the last meeting, Tom LaFlamme mentioned that, you know, he has contacts with the companies that he used to put in the town fiber. He didn't commit to anything, but it sounded like that, you know, if he was asked to maybe go to them informally to get, you know, some type of estimate, that they might do that, you know, without, you know, not a big deal, do it as a favor to us. And also, it might be the case that because the town has put fiber in, and after they look at things, it might be the case that we could be using the town fiber for any feed from the public safety building or the senior center or the library back to, you know, to Sam's Trottier location. So, you know, with respect to Charter, I think it'd be hard to get them to do that. With respect to Tom, it might be useful to ask him if that would be possible, but you know, we certainly don't want to put too much burden on Tom or his contacts.
No, and I told Caitlin that I'd be happy to try to facilitate, to the extent I can, a dialogue between Sam and Tom. And I don't know whether the town's technology committee needs to be involved, or is helpful to be involved, but to get a dialogue going so, you know, people can decide, okay, what are the next steps here? I do want to say Kathy has to leave at 2:45. So to the extent we're going to have a vote, I just want to make sure we get it done before Kathy has to take part, and we can't continue with the meeting once Kathy leaves under the open meeting laws. So we're operating under that time pressure. But if I sort of commit to communicating with Caitlin and Tom on the fiber piece, are we comfortable sort of moving forward with the license?
I am, yes.
Yes,
Kathy?
yes.
Okay, I would then, unless there are any other question or discussion, entertain a motion to approve or motion that the committee recommend to the Board of Selectmen that the Board of Selectmen approve the proposed renewal license that we have before us to take effect on September 30th, 2020 between the town and Charter.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Kathy?
Yes,
Will?
yes.
And the chair votes yes. So the committee will recommend to the Board of Selectmen at its meeting next Tuesday that it approve the proposed renewal license with charter to take effect on September 30th, 2020. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Any other business to come before the committee? Hearing none, and thank you, Bill, for your input and recommendation. It was very helpful. This has been an arduous and painful process, I think, for all of us on the committee, and I know for you, Bill, as well. I'm relatively satisfied with where we've ended up. I feel comfortable in recommending this deal to the town. I think it's a good deal for Sam. So I think we should feel good about what we have accomplished. With that, again, any other business to come before the committee?
No,
No,
Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn today's meeting?
second,
All in favor, Kathy,
Yes.
Will,
yes.
chair votes yes.
Did we, I'm sorry, maybe I'm stroking out here. Did we vote on the motion to approve the contract?
Yes.
Did we have a roll call on that?
Oh, okay, did I miss that? I'm sorry, I might have gotten caught in that. There was a motion in second,
Yeah.
but
Yes,
I thought there was a vote, but for the record, let's go over it again. All in favor? Kathy,
Yes.
Will,
yes,
and the chair votes yes.
okay.
Thank you, in case I missed that. All right, the chair votes yes on the motion to adjourn. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your hard work on this. I appreciate it.
Okay,
I'll let you know about the side letter too.
Okay,
all right.
thanks, Bill.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Take care,
Thanks.
everyone. Thank you, Tim.